Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching India Today Global, where we get you all the big news of the day and how it impacts not just India but the world and the region itself. With that, we have some big news coming in at this hour. Now, after powerful earthquake strikes near Japan, tsunami warning has been issued in Japan. Evacuation orders have been issued. Tsunami warning has been issued for Japan's northeast coast. 240-centimeter tsunami waves were reported on the coast. That's reports just coming in. This is going to be a very intense night for people in Japan, especially the administration. There was a massive earthquake. Some of the reports suggest it was a little over 7 on the Richter scale. And post the earthquake strikes, there have been tsunami warnings. A reminder of what happened during the tsunami in Japan when the nuclear facilities were impacted. But what will happen now, and is it going to have a major impact, is something we'll have to wait and see. Those are visuals of the earthquake. You can see the entire area was shaken. Pranay Upadhyay, my colleague, joining me for more on this. Pranay, massive earthquake and now a tsunami warning.
Absolutely, Geeta. Japan is not stranger to the seismic activity, but this is a 7.6 magnitude earthquake which jolted Japan, and that to be the northernmost prefecture of Japan, Omori. People have been asked to stay away from the coast and have been asked to go to the safer places. And the tsunami warning has already been issued by the Japan Meteorological Agency. The around 20-inch is the prediction of the tsunami waves. As per the latest information, but the visuals are clearly showing the impact. How massive this earthquake was. 7.6 is a huge magnitude, and the tsunami warning and the jolts have are also been experienced in the Hokkaido and Honshu provinces of Japan. You know that Japan has faced the earthquake and has experienced the earthquake of magnitude up to 9 in 2011 when we had the Fukushima disaster. And even before that, Japan is situated on the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean. So this earthquake also came in the Pacific Ocean, and the tsunami warning has been issued. But we are yet to get the further information as far as the damages are concerned, Geeta.
Well, that's right. Like you said, 7.6 magnitude on the Richter scale. That's massive. And we do see some of the visuals and photos that are coming in of the damage that has caused. That certainly is a matter for concern and scare. But in terms of not what the impact of the earthquake is, because Pranay, you've reported from Japan and know how resilient it is when it comes to earthquakes, but not so much when it comes to tsunamis.
You're right, Geeta. But as far as the Japan is concerned, you have also reported there, and we have seen that how the disaster-resilient infrastructure has been developed by Japan. And in the recent past also, we have seen that how earthquakes have brought in Japan. But Japan has its own resilience as well as experience to deal with such a situation. We have seen that post-Fukushima disaster of Japan in 2011, Japan has built furthermore structures. And they brought changes in their SOPs as well. So we are yet to get the further information that what exactly is the magnitude of damage suffered in the Omori prefecture of Japan and the other associated areas, because these jolts were widespread, have been experienced in the provinces of Hokkaido and Honshu as well. And this is the northernmost part of Japan. So, this earthquake, the epicenter of this earthquake, 7.6 Richter scale earthquake, was actually 50 miles, east of the Omori prefecture of the coast. The epicenter was in the sea. So, therefore, there are high chances of having a tsunami wave. But the official confirmation of tsunami is not there as yet. Only the Japanese Maritime Agency and the Japanese, the meteorological department has issued a warning, and people have been asked to stay away from the coast. And people, around 1 lakh people, according to some media reports, there are around 1 lakh people are affected, and they have been asked to go to safer places and go to shelters.
That's right. The Japanese Meteorological Agency, as also the disaster management agencies in the areas, are going to monitor through the night. Pranay Upadhyay, thank you so much for joining us. The US released a new national security strategy which warns of Europe's civilizational erasure, downplays Russia as a US threat, and urges NATO to halt expansion. The Kremlin has welcomed the tone but said implementation must be monitored. Mahashweta Lala with this report.
Everybody there to get to the right outcome, solution-based. We're in day 17 of phase 2.
Following 3 days of meeting last week in Florida between Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner with the Ukrainian delegation led by Rustem Umerov, the White House released a new national security strategy. The 33-page document released by the U.S. administration suggests Europe is facing civilizational erasure and does not cast Russia as a threat to the U.S. The strategy highlights Europe's relation with Russia as deeply attenuated and Europe's regard of Russia as an existential threat. Kremlin has welcomed this strategy but says will monitor how this will be implemented.
Даже признание, что НАТО нужно перестать расширяться, даже об этом речь.
Безусловно, безусловно.
It even includes an acknowledgement that NATO should stop expanding. It is mentioned as well. The plan includes language against confrontation and in favor of dialogue, building good relations, just as President Putin had said. That is encouraging on the one hand, but on the other, we know what happens when everything looks good on paper, yet what they call the deep state acts differently. That can happen. So it is essential to closely monitor how this concept will actually be implemented.
Какую реализацию найдет эта концепция?
As Washington softens its stand by not calling Moscow a threat, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz in London. The leaders discussed the latest Ukraine-Russia peace plan. Earlier, Zelensky called the meeting between the US and Ukrainian delegation constructive.
Yesterday, we spoke with Stephen Witkoff and Jared Kushner. I thank them for their readiness to work together 24/7. The American representatives know the basic Ukrainian positions. The conversation was constructive, although not easy.
As Trump attended the annual Kennedy Center's honors on weekend, he expressed disappointment that Zelensky had not read the latest proposal, though he said the Ukrainian delegation loved it.
What's your next step in Russia-Ukraine talks after last week's negotiations?
So we've been speaking to President Putin, and we've been speaking to Ukrainian leaders, including Zelensky, President Zelensky. And I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelensky hasn't yet read the proposal. That was as of a few hours ago. His people love it, but he hasn't. Russia's fine with it.
Earlier at a forum in Doha, U.S. President's son, Donald Trump Jr., while replying to a question, said his father might walk away if the Russia-Ukraine war dragged on.
Is your hunch that President Trump is going to walk away?
I think he may. What's good about my father and what's unique about my father is you don't know what he's going to do. The fact that he's not predictable, he's not following the playbook of every clown who's, again, been a bureaucrat for decades.
The U.S. national security strategy also emphasizes on strengthening economic security and geopolitical ties with India and sees it a critical partner in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. The document stresses on readjustment of the U.S. military presence in the Western Hemisphere to counter migration, drug trafficking, and what it describes as the rise of adversarial powers in the region based on the Monroe Doctrine, first promoted by then U.S. President James Monroe in 1823. Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
US President J.D. Vance drew flack from netizens after his recent post on theft of the American dream. Vance said, and I quote, "Mass migration is theft of the American dream. It has always been this way, and every position paper, think tank piece, and economic metric study suggesting otherwise is paid for by the people getting rich off of the old system." This led many netizens to mock the US Vice President, some suggesting that he should send his wife and US Second Lady and his children back to India. Usha Vance, a lawyer married to J.D. Vance in 2014, is the first Asian American and first Hindu American second lady. Earlier, during a podcast interview, Vance said it was totally reasonable to give priority to neighbors who share one's race, language, or skin color. He also stated in future the administration will try to remove as many undocumented migrants as possible. President Trump, while attending this year's Kennedy Center honors, brushed aside questions about his Christmas naughty list, saying it could cause trouble. He was speaking to reporters while he attended the annual Kennedy Center Honors Awards show, the show which recognizes achievements in music and in films. Trump had skipped the ceremony during his first term. This year's honorees include actor Sylvester Stallone, singers Gloria Gaynor and George Strait, rock band Kiss, and actor-singer Michael Crawford. Trump later hosted actor Sylvester Stallone and other celebrities at a dinner at the White House after presenting Kennedy Center honors.
President Trump, who is on your naughty list this year?
Oh, that's a long list. I better not tell you it's not a problem out there in the world. No, we have a pretty big naughty list, but our country is doing well. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. And a year ago, we were a dead country. We were a dead country that was laughed at all over the world. We're the hottest country in the world.
What would be the implication?
And Jesse Waters is terrific.
What are you going to...
Now, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has some tricks up his sleeve to evade ICE agents. This is a new dare. In a video message on X, Mamdani gave advice to immigrants how to evade immigration and customs enforcement. Zohran Mamdani's new era for NYC reminder comes after ICE raids made headlines in the Big Apple. At the time, about 200 protesters stood up to the authorities in Canal Street, leading to several arrests.
If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That looks like this. If ICE does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to say, "I do not consent to entry," and the right to keep your door closed. Sometimes ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, "Am I free to go?" repeatedly until they answer you.
Thailand has launched airstrikes along its disputed border with Cambodia after both countries accused the other of breaching a ceasefire agreement brokered by US President Donald Trump. Eyewitness video released on Monday showed a huge plume of smoke rising on the Cambodian side of the border. At least one Thai soldier has been killed and 8 wounded in the fresh clashes. Local residents living along the Thai border with Cambodia in Syria province took shelter in bunkers amid fresh clashes. Meanwhile, Thailand's foreign ministry said its military operations at the border with Cambodia will continue to protect the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Long-standing border disputes erupted into 5 days of combat in July that killed dozens of soldiers and civilians. US President Donald Trump pushed the Southeast Asian neighbors to sign a truce agreement in October, but tensions have continued to simmer. And let's now take a look at some other stories making headlines across the globe in World at a Glance.
Chinese police have escorted 1,178 Chinese nationals suspected of telecom fraud in Myanmar's Mayanwadi area back to China via Thailand. Since the launch of a joint China-Myanmar-Thailand operation on February 20th to repatriate telecom fraud suspects, more than 6,600 Chinese nationals allegedly involved in such crimes have been returned, delivering what authorities described as a powerful deterrent to transnational fraud syndicates. The European Commission on Friday imposed fines totaling 120 million euros on Elon Musk's social media platform X for breaching transparency obligations in its first non-compliance decision under the Digital Services Act (DSA). This marks the first time the European Union's executive arm has issued such a non-compliance ruling under the DSA, which came into force in 2022. After the fine, Musk took to X to say that the EU should be abolished and sovereignty should be returned to individual countries. Military parades were organized in various Syrian cities to mark the first anniversary of Bashar al-Assad's fall. People in Aleppo, Damascus and Latakia gathered to watch the shows, carrying Syrian flags and cheering. Assad flew Syria for Russia a year ago as rebels commanded by Syria's new president, Ahmad al-Shara. Benin President Patrice Talon said the government and armed forces had thwarted a coup attempted by a group of soldiers in the Western African nation, vowing to punish those who carried it out. Talon's announcement came about 12 hours after gunfire first rang out in several neighborhoods and soldiers went on state television to claim they had removed Talon from power. The attempted coup was the latest threat to democratic rule in the region, where militaries have in recent years seized power in Benin neighbors Niger and Burkina Faso, as well as Mali, Guinea and only last month Guinea-Bissau.
President Macron was in China. He went there for deals, he exchanged pandas. But what does this mean when it comes to the threat of tariffs by France to China? The impact of it not just for the region, but also for the world and particularly for India. Watch all that and more on Statecraft. Today, we're decoding something intriguing. French President Emmanuel Macron just visited China, but this wasn't your typical diplomatic handshake and smile trip. This was high-stakes poker with billions of dollars on the table and the future of global trade hanging in the balance. Picture this. Europe's elegant leader lands in Beijing. He's brought France's biggest CEOs with him. Airbus, BNP Paribas, Schneider Electric, the whole gang. They're hoping for deals, but there's tension in the air. Because Macron isn't just there to make friends. He's there to deliver some hard truths. So what happened? Did China blink? Did France get what it wanted? And why should India care about any of this? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. First, let's understand the problem. Europe has a massive headache, and that headache has a name: trade deficit. Here's what's happening. Europe buys way more from China than China buys from Europe. Since 2019, this gap has grown by nearly 60%. For France alone, it's even worse. They're buying $45 billion worth of Chinese goods every year, but China only buying $35 billion from them. Their nuclear technology has overtaken France's. Macron himself admitted it. Europe used to sell technology to China. Now, Europe needs to buy technology from China. Batteries, electric vehicles, solar power. It's a complete reversal, and it stings. Macron and Xi had what they called friendly and candid talks. They signed 12 cooperation agreements: nuclear energy, education, population aging, and yes, even panda conservation. China is lending France 2 more giant pandas from 2027 because nothing says let's fix trade imbalances like adorable bears. But here's where it gets interesting. Behind the smiles, Macron delivered a warning, and according to him, it wasn't subtle. In an interview after the trip, Macron revealed what he really said, and I quote, "I told the Chinese their trade surplus is unsustainable. They're killing their own customers. If they don't react, we Europeans will impose tariffs, just like America is doing." Boom, cards on the table. Now this is fascinating because Macron is essentially saying, look, we don't want a trade war, but you're leaving us no choice. You're selling too much and buying too little. Fix it or we'll fix it for you. Macron also pointed out something clever. Europe is caught in the middle. On the one side, America's Donald Trump with his tariffs and protectionism. On the other side, China flooding markets with subsidized goods. Europe has become what Macron calls the adjustment market, meaning everyone dumps their problems on Europe and European industry is getting crushed. But Macron didn't just threaten, he also offered solutions. He proposed a deal. Europe would lift restrictions on selling semiconductor machinery to China. In return, China would stop limiting exports of rare earth minerals. Now let's zoom out, because this isn't just about trade. There's a massive geopolitical chess game happening here. Ukraine. That's the elephant in the room. Europe desperately wants China to pressure Russia to end the war. Macron raised it during his visit. He asked China to support a ceasefire to stop strikes on critical infrastructure. Winter is coming, after all. But China isn't budging. They assured Russia of their continued support. She said China remains committed to peace, but peace, in diplomatic speak, can mean many things. And China clearly isn't ready to throw Russia under the bus. But what does all of this mean for India? Because we're not just spectators here. We're right in the middle of this shifting world order. First, the trade imbalance issue. India has the same problem with China. We import way more than we export. Electronics, machinery, chemicals, Chinese goods dominate our markets. And just like Europe, India is trying to reduce this dependency. Europe's experience is a warning for us. If we don't build our manufacturing capabilities now, we'll end up like them, caught between American protectionism and Chinese overproduction, with nowhere to go, and that's the problem. Second, the technology angle. Europe is now looking to buy new tech from China. India needs to make sure we don't end up in the same boat. We are investing heavily in semiconductors, EVs, and green energy. The race is on, and we can't afford to fall behind. Third, rare earth minerals. China controls most of the world's supply. They're using this as leverage. India has some rare earth deposits. We need to develop them and also secure more overseas access of rare earths fast. Because depending on China for critical minerals is dangerous. Finally, there's the bigger picture. Europe is realizing it can't rely on America or China completely. They need alternatives. That's where India comes in, as a manufacturing hub, as a tech partner, as a reliable democracy. The India-EU trade deal suddenly looks more attractive to them. Macron threatened tariffs. She offered friendship, but no concessions. No major deals were signed. The trade imbalance remains, and the geopolitical tensions continue. From India's perspective, this is a wake-up call. We need to build our manufacturing strength, develop our tech capabilities, secure our supply chains, and position ourselves as a reliable alternative. That's all on this edition of India Today Global.